Once upon a time in a small village called Ajilete, there lived a girl named Amina. But Amina was no ordinary girl. She was like a roaring lion in a school full of sheep. Everyone feared her. Teachers, students, even the principal. She was big, strong, and had a face that rarely smiled. If you saw her coming, you moved aside. If she sat next to you, you dared not breathe too loudly. Nobody wanted to be on her bad side because Amina neither forgave nor forgot. Amina was different from the other students. She was older, much older. While most students were 16 or 17, Amina was already 21. She had repeated classes 5 times, but she didn't care. People called her the mommy of the school because she was like an adult among children. However, she didn't act like an adult. Oh no, Amina was wild. She came to school whenever she felt like it, slept in class as if she were in her bedroom, never did homework, and if a teacher dared to ask her a question, she would yawn in their face as if they were wasting her time. Nobody could control her. Not the teachers, not the principal, not even the village elders. She was like a storm that no one could stop. And the worst part was that she loved trouble. If there was peace, Amina would disrupt it. If there was quiet, she would bring noise. If you looked at her the wrong way, boom, she would fight you. One day a teacher told her, "Amina, sit properly." She turned to him, her eyes cold, and asked, "Do you want me to sit on your head?" The class gasped, and the teacher sighed, walking away. It was better to ignore her than to fight a battle he would surely lose. Even the principal had given up. "Just let her be," Mr. George said. "She will leave one day." But Amina had no plans of leaving. And in Ajilite Community School, everyone knew one thing. Wherever Amina was, trouble followed. And the worst part, her story had not even begun. A long time ago, before Amina became the terror of the school, she was just another junior student. Stubborn, yes, but not yet feared. Then one day everything changed. That morning, Amina arrived late to school. The sun was already high in the sky, and the other students were in class. She strolled in slowly, chewing gum and swinging her arms as if she had all the time in the world. A senior student, KLA, stood by the school gate and saw her. His eyes narrowed. "Amina, why are you just coming?" Amina blew a bubble with her gum and popped it. Not answering, KLA frowned. He was one of the toughest seniors in school and had punished many students before. Nobody ever talked back to him. "Go and kneel down," he commanded. Amina did not move. Kelly's face darkened. "Are you deaf?" He grabbed his cane and raised it. Before Amina could react, swoosh, the cane landed on her back, and the school went silent. KLA flogged her again. "You think you are special," he sneered. Some students shifted uncomfortably. They knew Amina from the village, knew her story, and knew KLA had just made the worst mistake of his life. "Senior KLA, please leave her," one boy whispered. "She is not someone you should punish," another girl warned. KLA laughed. "I will teach her a lesson," he boasted. "Let her do her worst." He did not stop. He made her cut grass under the hot sun. She worked for hours, her hands blistering, her face covered in sweat. But Amina did not cry, did not beg, and did not even look at KLA for too long. Amina only glanced at him, her voice quiet like the wind before a storm. "Be prepared," she said, "and don't run home after closing." KLA only laughed again, thinking she was joking. But Amina never joked. When school closed, students hurried home, but Amina did not leave. She waited outside the gate, standing under a mango tree with her arms crossed. KLA strolled out, whistling and laughing with his friends. That girl thought she was stubborn. I showed her pepper. But as he stepped out of the school gate, someone was waiting. Amina grabbed him by the collar and dragged him behind the school fence. "Ah, what is happening?" a junior student whispered. "Shoo, it's Amina," another said, peeping through the window. And then it began. Smack. Amina slapped him, punched him in the stomach, and KLA fell to the ground, coughing. But Amina was not done. She climbed on top of him and beat him like a drum. She punched, kicked, and scratched. KLA tried to crawl away, but Amina grabbed a handful of sand and shoved it into his mouth. "Swallow it," she hissed. Kayla gagged, his eyes wide with fear. He had been the king of the school, but now, in that moment, he was nothing. When she was satisfied, Amina stood up, dusted her hands, and walked away as if nothing had happened. The next day, KLA came to school with bruises on his face. He did not speak, did not complain, and from that day on, nobody, neither students, seniors, nor even teachers, dared to cross Amina. Her reign of terror had begun. Months passed, and the school settled again, leaving Amina all alone, never bothered, until one hot afternoon when it happened again, this time with a well-respected teacher. The sun was high, the air was hot, and the students sat quietly in class, waiting for the history teacher, Mr. Salami. Everybody liked Mr. Salami. He was patient, kind, and never shouted. But that day, something happened that had never happened before. At the back of the class, Amina was eating. Not a small snack, but a big plate of rice and chicken with stew dripping down the side. She ate like she was at home, licking her fingers, chewing loudly, and picking her teeth. The smell of the food filled the whole class. The students dared not talk. Nobody wanted to get into trouble, but they stole glances at each other, wondering what would happen next. Then Mr. Salami walked in. He stopped at the door, saw Amina, and saw the food. His face changed. "Amina," he called, his voice calm, "can you keep your food for later?" Amina did not answer. She picked a piece of chicken, crunched the bone, and kept chewing. The class held its breath. Mr. Salami took a deep breath. He was still calm. "Amina," I said, "stop eating." Amina licked her fingers, wiped her mouth with the back of her hand, and looked up at him as if he were disturbing her. Then she did something that made everybody freeze. She picked up a chicken bone and threw it. The bone hit Mr. Salami's chest, and oil from the food splattered on his white shirt. The class gasped. Nobody had ever done this before. Mr. Salami lost his patience. His face changed, his hand clenched. "Amina, come outside now," he ordered, his voice no longer calm. Amina stood up slowly, picked up her plate of rice, and walked straight to the front of the class. She stood before Mr. Salami and poured the whole plate of food on his head. The whole class screamed. Rice covered his face, chicken bones fell to the ground, and red stew dripped down his neck like palm oil on a goat's back. Mr. Salami did not move. The students did not breathe. Silence filled the room, and then everything exploded. Class screamed. Mr. Salami lost control. His hand slapped Amina's cheek, and the sound echoed in the room. But Amina did not cry. She only touched her face and looked at him with cold eyes. "Don't try this again ever in your life," she said. Mr. Salami was even angrier. "And what will you do? Slap me back?" He raised his hand to hit her again, and that was the mistake. Before his palm could land, Amina caught his wrist in midair. Then bam! She punched him. She grabbed a chair and swung it at him. Crash! It hit his shoulder. He staggered backward, his feet wobbled, and then he fell. Amina jumped on him, punching and kicking, fighting like a wild animal. Students ran to the corners of the classroom. Some ran outside. Nobody dared to stop her. By the time other teachers rushed in, Mr. Salami was bleeding, his white shirt now red. Amina sat on his back, still beating him. The teachers pulled her off, carried Mr. Salami, and rushed him to the hospital. That day something changed. The teachers whispered, and the students trembled. Amina had beaten a teacher, and nothing in Ajilete Community School would ever be the same again. The school was quiet, too quiet for 2 whole days. Nobody saw Mr. Salami. His seat in the staff room was empty. His house was locked, and his bicycle, the one he always rode to school, was gone. The students whispered, the teachers murmured, and even Principal Mr. George was confused. "Where is Mr. Salami?" a teacher asked. No one had an answer. Some said he was still in the hospital, lying on a bed too weak to move. Some said he packed his bags and left the village in shame. Some even believed he went to the city to start a new life far away from the girl who had humiliated him. But one thing was clear. Amina had broken him. He was the teacher who never shouted, the teacher who never raised his voice, the teacher who was patient with everybody. But Amina had ended him. The students in the class where it happened still talked about that day. "I saw blood on his shirt," one boy whispered. "I saw his eyes roll back," another girl said. "He fell like a tree," someone added, shivering at the memory. The fear spread. The teachers gathered in the staff room, their voices low. "This girl is dangerous," one muttered. "If she can beat a teacher, then who is next?" Another asked. "We must do something before she kills someone," an older teacher whispered. Even the principal rubbed his head in frustration. He had seen many stubborn students before, but never someone like Amina. And so the school waited to see if Mr. Salami would ever return, waited to see what Amina would do next. But Mr. Salami never came back. The classroom where it happened felt haunted. His chair remained empty. His books gathered dust, and the teachers never spoke his name again. Amina walked around the school as if nothing had happened. The teachers had had enough. First, she beat a senior student. Then she beat a teacher so badly he disappeared. Who was next? The principal. The staff room was filled with angry voices. "We can't continue like this," one teacher shouted. "She is not a student, she is a wild animal," another added. "We must expel her before she does something worse." Even Mr. George, the principal, sighed and rubbed his forehead. There was no other option. That morning, during assembly, he stood in front of the students, his voice firm, his face serious. "Amina, come forward." The students turned eyes wide. Amina called out in assembly. Amina strolled forward slowly, her hands in her pockets, her chewing gum popping loudly. She looked at the principal with zero respect. Mr. George held up a piece of paper, his voice ringing through the air. "Amina, you are no longer a student of this school. You have been expelled." The school erupted in cheers. Finally, some students whispered, others clapped, and even some teachers smiled. But Amina stood there, blowing another bubble with her gum. "Come and take me out if you can," she said. Silence. Mr. George's face turned red. He had never seen such disrespect. "Leave now," he shouted. Amina did not move. Furious, Mr. George marched toward her and pushed her from behind. "I said leave my school, you animal." Big mistake. Boom. Before anyone could blink, Amina turned and punched him in the face. Blood poured from his nose. The students gasped and the teachers froze. Mr. George stumbled back, holding his face. Amina was not done. She grabbed the expulsion letter, tore it into tiny pieces, and threw it at him. "You can't send me away," she said. Before anyone could stop her bash, she kicked his jaw and 2 of his teeth flew out. "Ah!" The students screamed. The teachers ran and the students scattered. The principal fell to the ground, unconscious. Amina dusted her hands and walked away. The next week, 5 teachers resigned. The school was in chaos. The principal was in the hospital, missing 2 teeth, and 5 teachers had resigned. The students walked around in fear, whispering Amina's name like a curse. Something had to be done. That morning, 4 male teachers gathered in the staff room. They were the strongest in the school. One was Mr. At, the PE teacher with arms as big as yam tubers. One was Mr. Hassan, the mathematics teacher who once fought off thieves in his compound. One was Mr. Obi, the chemistry teacher who lifted big water drums like they were feathers. And the last was Mr. Fay, the discipline master feared for his punishments. "We must stop her today," one said, cracking his knuckles. "We will teach her a lesson she will never forget," another added. "We are 4 men, she is just 1 girl," the last one scoffed. They picked up their canes and marched to Amina's classroom. Inside, the students were quiet. The moment they saw the teachers enter, they knew something bad was about to happen. One teacher stepped forward. "Amina, stand up and follow us." Amina, sitting at the back, did not even look at him. She tore a page from her book. rolled it into a ball, and threw it at his face. The class gasped. Another teacher stepped forward. Amina, don't try us today. Come outside now. Amina stretched her legs, yawned, and leaned back. I'm not going anywhere, she said lazily. The biggest teacher in the group turned to the class. Everybody moved back. The students jumped from their seats and pressed themselves against the walls. Nobody wanted to be near what was about to happen. The teacher surrounded Amina, and then the first teacher grabbed her wrist. Big mistake. Amina twisted his arm and elbowed him in the stomach. Wham! She grabbed the desk and swung it at the second teacher. He crashed into the blackboard. The third teacher tried to hold her down, but Amina kicked his legs from under him. He hit the floor, groaning in pain. Now only one teacher remained. He looked at his fallen colleagues, looked at Amina, and stepped back. This girl is not normal, he whispered, but Amina was not done. She picked up a broken chair and charged at him. Crack! The chair split in two on his back. He fell forward, his face hitting the ground. Class was silent. All four teachers lay on the floor, groaning. Chairs were broken, blood was on the floor. Amina wiped her hands and walked back to her seat. The students stared at her in horror. That evening, the whole village talked about it. That girl is cursed, one elder whispered. She is not normal, another agreed. Nobody had ever seen one girl fight four men and win. From that day on, no teacher in Ajilete Community School ever dared to touch Amina again. Everybody in Ajilete Village feared Amina. They said she was cursed, that she had the strength of 10 men, that she was not normal. But nobody knew her story. Nobody knew what happened when Amina went home after school. Nobody knew what she had seen, what she had lived through, what had made her the way she was. Amina's house was not a home. It was a battlefield. Her father was a drunkard and a gambler. He wasted money, shouted at everybody, and spent most nights lying in the gutter like a useless man. Her mother was a prostitute. She left the house at night, dressed in short skirts, searching for men to pay her for what was supposed to be free. And every single night, without fail, they fought. Plates shattered, chairs broke, and curses filled the air. Sometimes Amina's father would slap her mother until her face swelled. Other times, her mother would stab him with a broken bottle. Blood, shouting, screaming, crying. That was the music Amina grew up hearing. There was no love in that house, no peace, no kindness, just war. And when a child grows up in war, they become a soldier. Amina learned to fight before she learned to write. She learned to shout before she learned to read. She learned to survive before she learned to live. One day, when she was 12, she tried to stop them. "Baba, stop!" she cried, holding his arm. But Baba slapped her so hard she fell. That was the day Amina stopped crying. That was the day Amina became stone. She never cried again, never begged again, never feared anyone again. She learned how to fight. She learned that in this world, only the strong survive. If her father could hit her mother, if her mother could throw a knife at her father, if love did not exist in her house, then why should she listen to any teacher? Why should she fear any student? Her home was a war zone, so she carried that war everywhere she went. To school, to the classroom, to the teachers, to the principal. She fought because fighting was all she knew. She destroyed because that was all she saw. Amina was not just a girl full of anger. She was a girl raised in fire, and now she had become fire herself. Nobody in Ajilete Village knew the truth. They only saw the monster. They never asked who or what created it. Then one morning something different happened. The school compound was filled with soldiers. Their boots pounded the ground, their voices boomed like thunder, and their eyes were sharp, watching everything. It was Corps members' orientation day, and a new batch of Corps members had arrived. One of the new Corps members was Uchi. He was young, kind, and full of hope. He had heard about the school's troubles, but he did not know about Amina. Not yet. The students stood in neat lines, the teachers stood beside them, and the national anthem began to play. Everybody stood straight, everybody sang, and everybody showed respect. But then, like a slow-moving storm,